Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about transportation in Bermuda. You've arrived on this gorgeous island and then you want to get around it. So, few options. If you're a tourist, you have buses, you've got ferry, taxis, and you can also rent a bike or a small car called Twizy, two-seater. The cheapest way for tourists to get around would be with a bus. It's nice and spacious, and it's not one of those buses that you're used to in other places. It's lots of space, and it's like you get to know the atmosphere on the island when you're on the bus, as when you get on the bus, you have to say good morning or good afternoon to everyone. So that's quite nice and unique about the island, that you have to kind of greet definitely the driver, and then usually you can greet the other riders in the bus. You buy the tickets at the central station located in Hamilton, but if you don't have a ticket, then you will have to pay cash. And the only thing is it's best to get a ticket because you have to pay cash and there's no change given. So it will end up costing you more. So if you're using the bus, then you would need the ticket, and then usually the way it works, you use one ticket to get into the city, Hamilton, and then you'll use another ticket to get somewhere else. So you might need two tickets, or depending on where you want to go, different amount of tickets that you'll need. And the bus stops are quite interesting. So it's quite basic in terms of the bus stop. Sometimes you may not really realize that is a stop. So it will be a blue pole for buses going outside Hamilton, and then pink pole will mean that the bus is going towards Hamilton. That's how you know which direction and which side of the road you need to wait for the bus. Pink to Hamilton, blue outside Hamilton. Some people prefer to go with take a ferry. Many tourists go and rent bikes. So you can rent some bikes, but I wouldn't really, for me, that wouldn't be the first thing I would get, because first of all, you want to be comfortable on a bike, and second of all, the roads are tricky, and also the traffic, or it's not very relaxing going on a bike here. So unless you have a lot of experience on it, or I don't know, grew up in Italy, or feel comfortable and confident that you'll be okay with a bike, don't get one. Yeah, not for everyone. Or you can get a Twizy, two-seater car, quite comfortable going around the island, safer version of transporting yourself rather than on a bike. That usually is $200 a day. You'll need a valid driving license for that. And then you can use a taxi. The best app for that is Hitch, and you can pre-order it, or it's basically like an Uber. So really convenient. Every time we've used it was 5 minutes and the ride is there, and very comfortable cars, and like big cars, and great experience with the taxis. But it can be pricey. Like for a short distance, it can be pricey. And then another option is you can take the ferry. So you can take the ferry from St. George, from Hamilton, from Dockyard, and basically see the island from a ferry, which is quite a nice experience. So that's if you are a tourist. Now, if you reside here, then you can actually buy a proper car, but you will need to first pass a driving test. You want to register with a GP, pass the test that you are okay to drive, your vision is okay, and in general you're fine to drive, like a standard test. With that, you'll go to TCD, the Transportation Department of Bermuda. You'll go with that paper, and then you will actually try and do a written test, which is free. You don't need to book for that, so you just show up, and then they will guide you where to go, and then you wait until it's available. I highly recommend, before you do the written test, highly recommend read the book. Once you've passed your theory exam, then you'll be able to get a license that will say that you have a learner's license, and then with that license you will be able to take the practical test. But before you take that, you will need one lesson with an instructor from here. Even if you've been driving for years and years and years, anywhere in the world, you still will need a lesson here. That will, once you have the lesson, then the instructor can book you in for the test really quickly if you're ready for it. It may take a few lessons for some people, but also highly recommend to take a lesson with an instructor, just because a lesson or two or more, because it's just different. It's just different, and you want to know how it really works here on the roads. Some roads is really like you need to know how the traffic works or who has priority, because it's just very unique to some junctions. So highly recommend to take a few lessons, not just to pass the test, but also to understand how it works. Yeah, so once you're ready, the instructor will book in for the practical exam, and it will you'll have to parallel park, reverse, and then go on the road. So I done it twice, and it takes I don't know, like, depends on the day, but could take 10 minutes to 30 minutes that you'll be doing that practical exam. And if you fail one part of it, so for example, if you fail the road, then you just retake the road bit. You don't need to retake the parking bit, which is good. The roads are, you drive on the left side, like in the UK. So I've driven in Canada, and I'm used to wide roads, big lanes, a few lanes and stuff like that. Here, it's 2 lanes and 1 side lane, and it's very, very narrow. Yeah, so once you have that, once you have the permit, then you can go and buy a car. Some people also they actually start with a bike here. They don't buy a car for some time, because the car is more expensive, both to buy, to own, and to maintain. So many people start with a bike, and to get that, you'll also need to pass a practical test on a bike to actually have a license that you can ride a bike. And let's say you pass the test. Let's say you pass the driving test, you have a license, you want to buy a car. Well, we've got a very interesting experience with a car in Bermuda. So we bought a Ford Fiesta from 2012. When we arrived, like 2 months in or so, and the cars in Bermuda are expensive. So, usually in Europe, you can get a older car for cheap, whereas here cars hold their value, which is good when you want to sell it. But when you want to buy it, it's gonna be like, what? Okay, yes. So yeah, anyway, we bought a used car from Facebook Marketplace. That's where you can find everything in Bermuda. You can find clothes, you can find furniture, basically a community shop and page in a way, but there are many pages. Anyway, so you can, that's a bus, by the way. You can buy a car on Facebook Marketplace. It's quite common. It's really, that's what most people do when they arrive, because it's cheaper than to buy a new car. It's still not cheap, but cheaper than buying a new car. So that's what we did. We bought it. We bought a $10,000 car. Then only to 6 months later, it breaking down, and like it just, was not the best buy. Even if we serviced it and we looked after it, and we really, 6 months later, the car broke. So the rule in Bermuda, if you own a car and you need to buy a different car, you will either sell the car you have or cut it if it's undrivable, or I don't know, if you can't find the seller, or then you need to cut the car. So our car was not drivable, or it actually would cost more to repair it than to sell it, or whatever we bought it for. So we decided that we needed a new car, and we had to cut it. And the best thing we did, we researched now properly what's going on the island, and we researched properly what is the best way to buy a car in Bermuda. And not just, we could not afford to buy another car from the marketplace in case it breaks again 6 months later. bus going to Hamilton. So we did a lot of research, and then we ended up buying a new car from Auto Solution, and that's a nice car dealer place in Bermuda. They sell new cars and they sell older cars. But the good part about them, what sold it to us, was that they give 5-year warranty for a new car, and that was a big, I don't know, like relief for us to know that, okay, we buy the car and it's insured for 5 years, so we don't need to worry about if anything breaks. So from our experience, I would say it's really worth investing in a new car, or at least a car that has, for example, you can still buy a car from Marketplace that was sold by, let's say, Auto Solution or another brand here in Bermuda that has some insurance, so you can still use that in case you need it, rather than buy a car that's, 10 years old. And because Bermuda is so humid, a lot of like rust that creates, and that's how cars, even for example, somewhere else that car would last longer, but here, because of the different humidity and just the environment, it's kind of damaging the car sooner. So anti-rust is a must. And last thing I'm gonna say is the brands of the car that would be good to get in Bermuda, because when we arrived, we're like, yeah, we like this car, let's get it, and then we realized the island doesn't have many cars, the one we bought, so maybe not the best idea. When it breaks down, you need to have like parts for it. So let me tell you the brands that are good to buy in Bermuda for cars. Basically, you want to focus on Japanese cars, but also the cars that will last longer. Everyone says, for example, you can rely on it for almost 20 years or so, is Honda Fit, or Hondas, Toyota, Suzuki. Those are the most common cars you see in Bermuda, but also Kia Picanto. It's a tiny car, so if you just like 2 people, if you're not planning on having kids or have kids, then that would be a great option, because the roads are so narrow that it will be so easy to park with a small car. Yet Kia Picanto, or Kia's, just such a popular brand on the island, and it's easy to repair it, or quite reliable as well. So yeah, invest in those like Hyundai, Suzuki, Toyota, Honda, and Kia. Other brands are not so island friendly. Or if you want to find it for yourself, you're not sure, you're thinking about it, you need more time to decide on the car, highly recommend, and that's what I'm going to do for myself next time we move somewhere, or in future. I'll actually take like, let's say 1 month or 2 months, just like observe what brands are on the island, observe what is and like, notice so many Kias, so many Suzukis, so many, you'll see that there will be a particular brands that you'll see very often. And then if you see one-off Mercedes or BMW, well, that's not going to be easy to maintain and repair if anything goes wrong. So that's my take from both the experience, but also when you're on the island for longer, it doesn't even have to be on the island. When you're somewhere for a longer time, you actually observe and realize, these cars are here for a reason. So that's what I would do. I would go to even like maybe a parking lot, or just really actively observe what cars you see most here, and that will give you a better understanding of what car is okay to get and what car better. If you're not sure, don't. Again, it's all about the environment, the humidity and the rust and the salty air that will have a big effect on the car. So yeah, just go with something that's been tested. Anyway, I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll think of other topics to let you know about the island. But if you have any ideas, let me know as well. Open to suggestions.